All right, here's our next animation project. So in this project, we're going to make a cube and we're going to animate it, but we're going to do it randomly. It's going to be a random animation. So for instance, if you look at, if I run this one, right? So if I run this one, it's moving around, but what you don't realize is that I set this to be random, right? So every time I run it, I don't know where it's going to go. So if you look at the code, right? If you look at the script, we have some random location. So that's what we want to do is we want to set the random location. Okay, so what I'm going to do again is I'm going to open up I guess I could say this, right? Animation 2 is fine. And I'm going to open the Blender template, right? And you see, we have, the regular stuff here, right? And this is where we're going to do an animation. So if I run, uh, nothing's going to happen, but there should be no errors, right? So the first step is to, just like before, is to make the cube. So I'm going to get some code from, my other project and put the Okay, so I copied this code here, right? And you probably have it somewhere too, from your other projects. So if I run this, I should get a nice cube, right? But still, there's no animation, right? We didn't do anything, but I got a cube. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the animation. So animation. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that first frame, right? So you have this too, and I'm going to set the location of the cube to 0. So that should be my first frame. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set up a loop to do the other frame. So I'm going to say for I in range. So I'm going to do a loop instead of doing all that code. So I'm going to do 5 frames, 5 keyframes, right? And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to copy this, right? Because I want to do a random one. So I'm going to copy this and put it in here. Let's indent it correctly, right? So it's inside. But the thing is, I want this to be random, right? So I'm going to declare X, and I'm going to make it equal to random rand int, and I'm using this library up here. You see this library random. It gives us the opportunity to do random numbers, rand int, and I can choose, let's say -10 to 10, right? -10 to 10. So choose a number between -10 and 10. So that's the x, and I need the y and the z too. Why not, right? So y and the z. So x, y, and z. And then I'm not going to use 0, 0 here. I'm going to use x comma y comma z. Now the other thing is when I run this 5 times, oops, this has to be left parentheses. So left parentheses. The other thing is I can't have this keyframe to be the same, right? I mean, it's going to just do nothing, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say keyframe and I'm going to set it equal to 1. So I need a variable because this is going to change. So I'm going to say keyframe, right? So, and if I change this in the loop, then this will be different. So I do want to change it, right? So let's just change it. So I'm in the loop and this keyframe needs to be different every time I run this. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to say keyframe plus equals, let's say 20, right? So you see, so every time I come around, it's going to be random and the keyframe will be different, right? 20 increased by 20 on the timeline. So let's check this, right? I'm going to say run script. It says closing parentheses. Yeah, I see rand int. I forgot that this was all parentheses, right? So I'll make the correction. And you get this every once in a while. Okay, it looks like the script ran, and you see I have the 5 keyframes, right? And then if I run it, the thing is really moving around fast, right? So here it is, 5, and it's random, right? It's kind of random. I'm going to stop it, just tab and see random. And maybe 10 is a little too much. If you like, you can control that. You can say 5 and 5. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at 10. The other thing that I don't like, if you kind of look at it, it just moves around all over. I like it to go back to zero every time. You see, so go from here to zero, back to something random. So I'm going to stop it and I'm going to set it to zero. And I actually want it to start at zero. So I'm going to copy uh, this. See, I'm going to copy that. And after every one of these, I want to go back to zero. So I'm going to make sure the indentation is correct, right? Uh, oops, tab. Looks like, so you see, I think I got it right. So you see, I'm going to set it back to zero. So, and then of course I need to increase the keyframe. Oops. And I'm going to set this to keyframe, right? Because it's in the loop now. And then I'm going to increase the keyframe for the next time around. So it goes back to zero. So what should happen here is you get a random location, starts at zero, you see, starts at zero, then 5 times. Go to a random location and then go back to zero. So let's run this and see if I have any. Do you mean keyframe? Keyframe, did I misspell it? Yes, I did. Keyframe. So let's correct that and no errors. And now if I run it, I'm going to go back to zero, right? And I'm going to see, it should start at zero, right? It didn't start at zero. I'm going to check that, right? But anyway, but at least it's going back to zero. But and then my 200, I need to increase to 200, right? So I'm going to do it here right now, temporarily, see? And let's run this, right? So it's going back to zero. I still don't like that it's not staying at zero just for a second or two. And also, why isn't it starting at zero? I thought I had it, right? So let's go back to here, right? Keyframe set one, location. Oh, I didn't increase the keyframe, right? So I didn't increase the keyframe. I made it start at one. So you see, I started at one, and then the next one started at one too. So that was a random. So I need to start this at one and then make this at 20. So that'll correct that. But the other thing is, I do want it to kind of stall here. So I'm going to copy this one more time, right? Yeah, one more time, the zero, the one more time. So it just stays there, right? It stays there at zero for what, 20 frames, right? And then I got that. So let's see, right? 20. So, okay, let's give it a shot, right? So no errors, that's good. And I'm gonna reset. By the way, this will be 300 now. So I'm gonna set that 300. Okay, let me run it. Okay, it starts at zero, goes back to zero, kind of stalls, you see? Random stalls, random stalls, random stalls, and random stalls. So we got what we wanted. So this is the project, and just upload your code. I don't think there's anything else for you to do on this one.